Imagine it's Madison Square Garden, 2008. The buzzer for number 30 hits. The entire world thinks the man standing behind that curtain is sitting at home with a torn pec. Then the horns blare and the roof separates from the building. That is the magic of a great Royal Rumble. Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Escape, everybody. Last week, if you listened, we survived the disasters of the Rumbles. Today, we are looking at perfection. I'm going to be ranking my top 5 greatest Rumbles of all time. This will be the matches that defined careers and reminded us why we stayed up until 12 a.m., 1 a.m. watching grown men throw each other over a top rope. We've got Flair's miracle with a tear in his eye in 92. We have the blood-soaked chaos of 2001. And we had the return that no one saw coming. I'm Kyle. Let's step into the ring and get into my top 5. Kicking us off at number 5, I have Royal Rumble 2007. I call it the Clash of Titans. 2007 kicks off our list because it gave us the single greatest ending sequence in Rumble history. You had the Final Four, and with most Rumbles lately have been ending with a quick, desperate elimination. Actually, almost all of them do. But this one specifically ended with a mini match featuring 4 first ballot Hall of Famers. You had Edge, you had Randy Orton, you had Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker. We watched Rated RKO try to bully the veterans until Shawn Michaels flipped the script, tossing Orton and then super kicking Edge over the top rope just to leave us with those 2 legends. And you had the Taker versus Shawn Michaels duel. This is why it's on the list. For nearly 10 minutes, the match stopped being a battle royal and became a WrestleMania preview. Michaels escaped a tombstone. Taker sat up after sweet chin music. When Undertaker finally countered Shawn and tossed him out to become the first number 30 entrant to ever win, the crowd was exhausted just from watching it. Man, that was iconic. At number 4, I have Royal Rumble 2001. This was the chaos of the Attitude Era. Now, if you want to explain the Attitude Era to a non-fan, just show them this. You don't need to give them any background. You don't need to keep talking through it. Just show them this. It's everything that the Attitude Era was. It was violent, it was hilarious, and chaotic. The Hardcore Revolution, this match was pure anarchy. At one point, everybody in the ring had a weapon. And if you think back to it, this is when we saw Kane smash a guitar over a honky-tonk man's head. We even had celebrity Drew Carey try to bribe Kane with cash in the ring before he escaped elimination. It really was the perfect mix of violence and comedy, which is a very hard thing to do, especially with today's standards. But let's go back to Kane for a minute. He entered at number 6. And then he went to go on to set a record that stood for 13 years by eliminating 11 superstars. I mean, the guy just wasn't trying to survive. He was hunting. He tossed everyone out. You had from The Rock to Taz. Even though Stone Cold got the win after a bloody finish, this match belonged to Kane. And I think I'm going to post a clip. I think it's just minute 30 with Kane just going absolute crazy in that match. And at one point, I think he does hit Steve Blackman with the trash can lid, and just you'll have to listen to it. It's incredible. At number 3, I have Royal Rumble 2020. This is a match of 2 halves. The first half made you hate the villain. The second half made you love the hero. You had the Brock Lesnar gauntlet. He entered at number 1, and just like Brock Lesnar fashion, he didn't just wrestle, he disrespected the entire locker room, eliminated 13 straight opponents. He danced to MVP's music. He smashed Elias with a guitar, and every time the buzzer rang, the crowd groaned because they knew their favorite was about to get squashed. Now, the eruption setup is exactly why the payoff worked. If you remember, Drew McIntyre, Claymore kicking Brock over the top rope, and that pop was deafening. I wasn't even there, and you could hear it through the TV. And that Claymore kick, if you go back, perfect execution, and Brock sold the crap out of it, which was incredible. And then moments later, who returns from a 9-year retirement? You think you know me. Edge. Seeing him hit that first spear on Dolph Ziggler is a top 5 emotional moment, I think, in WWE history. So for 2020, had a couple of low spots, but those bright spots heavily outweigh it, and that's why it landed number 3 on my list. At number 2, this is where I think we might be getting some debates. I have Royal Rumble 1992. A lot of people have this one 91, or I'm sorry, a lot of people have 1992 as their number 1. Man, I cannot talk today. 1992 Royal Rumble, this was the star-studded classic. For the purist, it was the holy grail. The only Rumble where the actual world title was on the line and the roster was completely stacked at that time. Then on the commentary, you cannot talk about 1992 Royal Rumble without mentioning Bobby the Brain Heenan. His commentary performance is maybe the best of all time. He spent 60 minutes having a nervous breakdown on live TV screaming, "It's not fair to Flair," and arguing that Rick's robe was a kilt, not a skirt. Seriously, go back and watch 92. And then let's get into the performance. Ric Flair entered at number 3. This man wrestled for right at an hour against the likes of Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Roddy Piper. I mean, he survived by his wits and pure desperation, of course. And then when he finally dumped Sid Justice to win that belt, his post-match promo with a tear in his eye, the greatest moment of his life. That sealed this Royal Rumble in 1992 as a masterpiece. And, you're probably thinking, all right, if you're going to talk that highly about it, why is it not number 1? Here's my number 1 Royal Rumble 2008. The gold standard for the surprise return. This is the moment every other Rumble tries to emulate. You have to remember the context here. John Cena tore his pec completely off the bone in October the year previously. Doctors said he was out for 6 to 9 months, which gives that person no chance for the Royal Rumble in January. And nobody expected him back in January. And when the buzzer hit for number 30 and Cena's music played, the camera caught Triple H's face. I mean, I don't think he was acting. I think he looked genuinely stunned. The Garden went absolutely nuts. Cena didn't just return. He cleaned house. He tossed Mark Henry immediately and then started staring down Triple H and Batista for the final sequence. To me, it still remains the loudest surprise pop I've ever heard. You could probably argue that and the Edge pop when he came back in 2020. But that was it. 2008 is my number 1. Now, all 5 of those, you can go back and watch and be entertained from start to finish. And that's 5 hours right there. Each of them lasts about an hour. And it'll take you down memory lane. It'll take you down maybe a lane you've never been a part of. Like some of you are a little bit younger and you weren't around during the golden era, 1992. If you haven't seen it, go back and really you will appreciate it for what it was. And I think sometimes we get caught in that trap of, well, that's like 30 years, 40 years old. They're not going to be as good and as athletic in the ring as they are today. But you have to remember back then, it wasn't how it is today. Back then, yeah, some of them were athletic. However, it was more about storytelling, and the matches were just so much longer by telling that story. Anyways, off the soapbox. That's just my take on my top 5. And before we recorded today, I threw out the question to the Escape crew on Instagram to see which Rumble you think is the GOAT. And let's just say there was some debate. Welcome back to Crowd Speaks. Again, I asked you guys what the single greatest Royal Rumble match of all time was, and the answers were all over the timeline. So let's go ahead and get into the shout-outs. First we have Jersey Jim 33 and also alt_wrestling_worlds. Both put 1992 and 2001. Now, first up, 1992. Jim says it's not even close, and honestly, it's hard to argue. Like I said, you had Flair going 60 minutes and the title on the line, and Bobby Heenan, of course, giving the greatest commentary performance of his life. That is the gold standard. Next up, we have El Fantasmo_SPG, Sean. He went on to say Royal Rumble 2018 and 2001. 2001, again, peak Attitude Era madness. You had Kane, you had Austin. But then Shawn also showed love to 2018, and that's an underrated pick, I think. I think that was the Shinsuke Nakamura win. This was the first year that we had separate men and women's rumbles, and the energy that night was very contagious and special. Next up, we had Good Job Cobb. He went on to say 97 and 2025 were pretty good. Now, Good Job Cobb did go on to say he admits that he was not around for the older stuff, but picked 97. 97 is a great choice. You had Stone Cold in the Alamodome there, basically cheating to win, which then set the tone for the whole Austin versus McMahon era. And hey, showing love to the latest Rumble in 2025 with Jey Uso. Can't hate that pick because that told a great story with Jey Uso winning, with everybody expecting John Cena to win. Next up, we have 11 underscore Amon and Josh Jennings underscore fan page. They both said 2008. And listen, even if you didn't like him at the time, I think this is still before Super Cena, though. John Cena's surprise return as number 30 in the Madison Square Garden is, again, I think the loudest pop that I've ever heard. And you just cannot deny that moment. That's how powerful that moment was. Next up, we had Jesse Uribe 2000. He said Royal Rumble 2006, 2007, 2008, 2020, and 23. I think Jesse's a heavy Ruthless Aggression era guy. That's just a whole playlist on us. I love the 2007 pick specifically. The ending sequence, of course, between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. It was a mini match. That's better than most WrestleMania main events. And 2020, Edge's return, chills every single time. So some awesome picks in there. It seems like 92 and 2001 are the ones to beat, but I love seeing the variety. Head over to Instagram at Pro Wrestling Escape and give me your top 5 if you haven't already. Now, I have one more quick favor to ask if you're still listening. I am looking at the current charts and analytics for this show, and about 40% of you are listening on Apple Podcasts right now. If that's you, thank you. And please do me a huge favor. Scroll down to the bottom of the show page and tap that 5-star rating if you feel this is a 5-star show. It'll only take 2 seconds, but again, it'll help more wrestling fans like yourselves and this community. This is Pro Wrestling Escape. I'll see you next week.